In Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, Ben Solo and Rey represent the passing of a torch in the saga. As the balance of the universe shifts, each character fights for their identity, legacy, and glory. Ben Solo, a character defined by his heritage, transforms himself in The Last Jedi from a villain to an anti-hero as he tries to forge his own path through troubles with balancing his true identity. Ben Solo was always going to have a lot to live up to, as his grandfather was Anakin Skywalker, the Chosen One, and his uncle is Luke Skywalker, who saved the whole galaxy from the Empire. As well, his mother is Leia Organa, and his father is Han Solo. The Force runs deep in his family, so he's always going to be held up to high standards. Overall, Ben Solo, instead of rising to the occasion, breaks under the enormous pressure. He was forced to be in Luke Skywalker's Jedi Academy since he was born because it was believed that he would become stronger than even Luke himself. He trusted his mother, father, and uncle that it was the right choice, but all of them eventually fail him. Han Solo abandons him to continue his life as a smuggler. Leia is too busy leading the resistance to be there for her son. And finally, Luke Skywalker senses the anger and emotions in the young Ben Solo. He sees this as him turning to the dark side, so he pulls his lightsaber out on him while he sleeps. This is the breaking point, and he decides to betray Luke Skywalker, and he becomes an evil Sith Lord called Kylo Ren, because he no longer wants to be associated with the Solo or Skywalker legacy. He crumbles under the stressful environment and high expectations put on him by his family and turns his back on them. He was never born into evil or committed treacherous crimes. On the contrary, he was seduced because he wanted to be his own man and could no longer trust the people that were guiding him. Ben Solo is symbolic of the burning away of a previous self and becoming a new person. He no longer will be defined by how strong he is with the Force or how strategic he is in battle, or his skill with the lightsaber. He was forced into a role that was never made for him, and from now on, he will create his own legacy. In Beowulf, the Anglo-Saxons believed in Veerd, which is that your fate or destiny is woven by your own decisions. Beowulf is symbolic of this, as he is a royal man who finds himself banished, looked down upon for his obscene behaviors, and has no money to his name. He decides to use his strength, bravery, and courage to create a better life for himself, a life filled with honor and glory that he would achieve in battle. He becomes so successful that his name is regarded in all the lands as the strongest warrior, and eventually becomes king of Geatland. He could be seen as boastful or prideful, but instead of it being a flaw, he uses it to make him stronger. He's a loyal warrior that does everything for his king Higelac, by giving him all of the spoils he receives in battle. In the story, the bond between Higelac and Beowulf represents kinship and comitatus. Beowulf fights on behalf of Geatland and his king, and does not betray him even when he had enough power to do so after defeating Grendel. During the time the novel was written, the English culture was transitioning towards the Christian value of predetermined destination. This was that God had a plan for everyone that he created, and that since the day you were born, your destiny was already laid in stone. The whole novel could be seen as a glimpse into Europe's history as they transitioned away from the Anglo-Saxon values towards a new golden age. In Beowulf, in The Last Jedi, there's a passing of the torch from one era to another. Beowulf covers the historical change of Anglo-Saxon values to Christian beliefs. As well, in The Last Jedi, Ben Solo and Rey represent the new form of Jedi, someone who will not be defined by their heritage. In Beowulf, there is a clash of opposing values of Veerd and predetermined destination. The Anglo-Saxons believed in forging your own destiny and that you are defined by your actions in battle. Beowulf takes this to heart as he is royal blood but has brought shame to his culture. He decides to turn his life around by becoming a cunning warrior that showed bravery and courage on the battlefield. He brought respect back to his name by his achievements in glorious combat. He fights and gives everything to his king and represents the ideal Thane. He shares a close bond with his royal ruler and comes to represent comitatus. Rey and Ben also forge their own destinies throughout the movie, as The Last Jedi represents the transition of predetermined destinations to Veerd in the Star Wars galaxy. Rey comes from nothing, an orphan on a deserted planet. Ben comes from high status, said to be the chosen one by his uncle Luke Skywalker. They both come from opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to expectations, wealth, and power. There's something in both of them that make them special, and that is that the Force chose them. Ben Solo is tired of being told that he is to be a certain way, and that is why he breaks social norms for a person of his age and ranking and becomes his own master by betraying his own lord. Beowulf was also of high ranking in his family and, as a Thane, but he decides to stay loyal to his king and not betray him. He fought with bravery and fortitude to gain respect and be seen as the strongest knight in all of the land. Ben Solo, however, will do anything to be the strongest Jedi ever. Rey's journey eventually leads her to uncover that her parents are junk traders who sold her off for drinking money. Ben tells her that she is nothing but something to him. He wants her to join him, and they will rule the universe together. Instead of taking the easy route and joining him in the First Order, she decides to fight back and prove to him that she is as strong as him and will not be labeled as nothing. Beowulf and these Jedi both share the same desire for battle, as they will do anything to defeat their enemy, bring respect to their culture, and make their name the most well-known in all of the universe.
Ben Solo, also known as Kylo Ren, is tied between two identities. He was raised by Han Solo and Leia Organa under the Jedi Order. He was sent off to participate in his uncle Luke Skywalker's Jedi training camp to become a Jedi Knight, trying to help defeat the Sith. Ben's emotions got the best of him and was persuaded to the dark side. He always knew about his grandfather Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, and how he's the most powerful Sith Lord. He wanted to be great and followed the dark path, but there was always good in him. Throughout the film, we see the good in Ben, but also the dark in Kylo. He sees it as when he has the mask on, he is Kylo Ren, the leader of the First Order, and the great and powerful like his grandfather. Without the mask, he is Ben Solo, son of Leia and Han, and is weak. Ben Solo is suffering from an identity crisis as the Force is pulling him in two different directions. This chaos that is taking place in his body is what drives him to kill villages, but shows mercy to his mother. He wants to break free from the chains placed on him by both the First Order and his parents. That is why Ben kills his father and Master Lord Snoke, because he thinks that it will allow him to find his true self. Ben is not on a journey of destruction, but rather one of knowledge, so that he can allow his identity to remain at peace. When Beowulf travels to help the Danes, he's challenged by their warrior Unferth. He's a skilled talker and is jealous of Beowulf. He challenges him to a battle of words, also known as a flayting. Beowulf shows him that he is not only a skilled warrior, but is also intelligent. Unferth is driven by his emotions and commits the ultimate crimes of killing his own brother, which is why he will not receive the same respect as Beowulf. Throughout the story, the reader sees that Beowulf's ego revolves around his identity. He doesn't have a clash of identity, but he wants everyone to know how great he is. He wants the people to know that he is the fastest, strongest, and will be their hero. He cares what the people think about him, and that's why he challenges Unferth, because he doesn't want anyone to think that he could lose. He is all about the talk, but what makes him different is that he actually lives up to what he says and what he is, instead of just saying it to make himself look good. Beowulf as well gains a second identity, the King of Geatland. As a warrior, he was brash, strong, and prideful. He fights for mostly himself and his king. However, as a king, he is generous, benevolent, and shares his wealth with others. He is selfless and gives his life to protect his kingdom, which is something that he may never have done as a warrior. Ben Solo is the most similar character to Unferth from Beowulf. As Ben Solo commits patricide by killing his father, Han Solo, Unferth commits the ultimate sin when he kills his brother, which is deeply ashamed of. Ben Solo hesitates before he kills his father, and is now haunted by visions of his dad. There is still good in Ben even after committing this crime, just like Unferth, as he is the one who gives Beowulf the sword, Hrunting, that is supposed to be used to slay Grendel's mother. Ben Solo's identity changes throughout the movie, as when he becomes the leader of the First Order, he is much more violent, aggressive, and merciless. His identity issues are worsened by his newfound power, as his emotions guide him through decisions that aren't what's best for his people. Instead of protecting the First Order, he forces them to attack the Resistance on the planet of Crate. During the attack, many of his soldiers die, and he also fails to destroying the rebels. Beowulf only made the decisions that benefited his people, which led them to 50 prosperous years. It can be seen that Ben is too young to be the king of the galaxy. Beowulf, when he was young, was offered to be king after Hygelac died, but originally refused the throne because he thought that his son Hedra deserved to be king. Beowulf is loyal and doesn't siege the throne, unlike Ben. Both Ben Solo and Beowulf are both powerful, intelligent, and assertive. But Ben is driven by his emotions to commit terrible crimes, while Beowulf is guided by a relatively strong moral compass.
Born a scavenger, Rey lacks the lineage to become a prominent figure on her planet, let alone one who would grow to be able to harness the power of the Force. She doesn't let this deter her, as she takes the first available opportunity to leave her home planet in search of a better life that she knows is out there. A life full of glory and legacy. It is accepted Star Wars fact that the Force chooses you. As she ventures around the universe looking for answers about her past, she is unable to find them. From Luke Skywalker to hidden Jedi caves, she gets no concrete results. The universe is telling her to make her own path and find herself in the present moment instead of dwelling on the past and unknown information. In the end, she finally realizes that she is the last Jedi, and she brings glory to her lineage, as she will now be mentioned forever with the other legends of the universe. Beowulf only strives for glory, and because of this, ends up with a name reputable enough to be talked about for generations. His boasts bring glory to his name, as he backs his actions up either by being on the conquest for monster blood or protecting his homeland from invading foes. Beowulf takes his talents around the Anglo-Saxon domain and brings back great treasure to his homeland, Geatland, and his king, Hygelac. Beowulf might have created his path through glory, but he dominated it with his long-living legacy. Even when faced with death, his honor and courage motivate fellow Geats to carry on his legacy through battle and continue to bring treasures back to Geatland. The pursuit of glory and the building of a legacy that will last ages are prevalent themes in both texts. Through battle, Beowulf is able to achieve this as no neighboring country is willing to fight him after he defeats Grendel and his mighty mother. Beowulf takes this to the end, as he defends Geatland from a dragon attempting to destroy his domain, and in the process bolstering his legacy, as he inspires Hygelac and promotes him to king. Rey has similar motives, but instead of fighting monsters, she fights for herself in her desire to learn about her parents and her past. Glory, legacy, confidence are all words that could be used to describe her hero's journey as she carves her path to become a woman Jedi, and better yet, the last Jedi. Both achieved their goals, but both also needed external help. Rey needed a force, and Beowulf needed comitatus. The unifying forces not only assist the main characters, but make their stories and rise more epic and glorious. Also, Rey and Beowulf overcome insurmountable odds along their path, but in both cases they used it as fuel for their fire. Rey was orphaned at birth, and the Geats thought Beowulf would be a worthless piece of lineage, but both heroes proved their naysayers incorrect. Lastly, when it is all said and done, their dedication to creating their own path will be remembered better in a cultural sense. Beowulf, representing the merger of Anglo-Saxon and pagan culture, as he is a tough soldier driven by fraternity, bravery, and glory, but praises God. Rey is the first woman Jedi in a time where women are seeing extended roles in media as warriors. When pitted against each other, it is seen that Beowulf and Rey are both sparked by chasing glory while they paved their own paths in the world.
Overall, it can be seen that both Beowulf and The Last Jedi have similar archetypal characters and elements that reveal the thematic ideas of justice and identity. The novel and the movie show how the hero's journey is as prevalent and impactful as it was centuries ago.